So here we go. I just want to talk about something that basically it really bothers me. It has for a long time, but I really wasn't able to articulate it till more recently. That it's something I grew up in a Pentecostal kind of belief system in which they used to talk trash all the time about everyone else. And it's not like that's odd. Like, it just seemed out of place. And as I've kind of grown up and become more aware of like what things are like in Christianity and stuff, I found that that's more like it's increased, not decreased. And there's tons of just divisions everywhere in Christianity, just between the Arminians, Molinists, and Calvinists, and then there's the Pentecostals, the Charismatics, the cessationists, the like everyone. Do you sing out of a hymnal, or do you sing with the words up on the wall or whatever? Do you have online services? Do you have multiple services? Are you a big church or a small church? Do you meet in like a cathedral, or is it like a storefront or a theater? Like, just any opportunity, like especially things like racial and ethnic distinctions, like, oh, it's that church over there, don't go over to them. And the basic essence of that whole thing is that the only real Christians are the ones that are doing it like me or like my church, and the rest of them are fake, they're artificial, they're not real, they're all going to hell except for the ones that are like me. And it's just not true. One of the things about this, first of all, that's the most toxic is the idea of the ones that agree. If they agree with me, then you're fine. But if you disagree with me about anything, the mechanisms of baptism, do you use wine or grape juice during the communion, or do you call it communion? Do you call it Lord's Supper? Do you call it the Eucharist? Like, dividing over those things. And it's just unnecessary. What it really strikes me as is the kind of pharisaical arrogance that Jesus condemned the Pharisees for left and right. So, it's something that's frustrated me a lot. I think a lot of it comes from a position of a false sense of security, that you heap up these things that you do, or these facts that you know, or these beliefs that you hold as reasons for your security in your salvation, rather than just simple, what C.S. Lewis referred to as mere Christianity, or Wilberforce, or William Wilberforce referred to as real Christianity. That basically that it's just Christ. You trust in Christ, because I think as well something that's unfortunately connected to this is the belief that people are holding up an individual, usually themselves. If you're not like me, then you're fake. But often as well, if you're not like my pastor, you don't believe what this book that I've read, or this book that I wrote, if you're not that, then you are fake. They're holding this up as that's the archetype, or that's the prototype for Christianity. And that's just not true. There's only one prototype for Christianity, and that is Christ himself. He's the only real Christian that has ever existed. He's the only true, complete, 100% flawless Christian that's ever existed, and all of us are just poor Xeroxes of that. We don't have the sinless nature that he had. So we all simply need to be just pointing people up towards Christ and nothing else. Not your pastor, not your whoever it is book that you just read, not the podcast that you just subscribed to, or the last episode that you heard, or Spurgeon, or Calvin, or any. No, it's not that. None of them, none of those things can save you. It's only Christ. And so, I think in times like this that are so tumultuous, there's just no room for that kind of unnecessary division. Because in John chapter 17, Jesus prayed for his disciples. And in verse 20, he actually set aside a section where he said, I'm not just praying for the ones that are present here in the room, but the ones who would hear and believe because of their testimony, that they would be one as Jesus and the Father are one. And yet, one of the most common complaints I hear, coming both from pagans, from atheists, from whoever, is, how do I know that your Christian denomination or your Christian religion, how do I know that yours is the right way and not one of these other dozen of them? It has become an unfortunate black mark on Protestantism, at the very least, that all we do is just constantly divide. It's something that simply, it does not reflect Christ. It does not, and obviously just letting heretical beliefs exist within is not good either, but simply, we need to look more into becoming more unified than we are. We need to find ways to be more unified and to be more gracious with one another than just rushing to split off from others when we really don't need to, is what I'm getting at.